To address climate change impact, we do have our policies. We translate those policies into plans, but those do not have any value unless we translate those plans into projects. But how to make our projects effective? Well, if we are seeking donor funding, we have to understand before we develop a project proposal what the donor is actually funding for, the scopes, the themes, the location, or the group of people they are targeting. Does it match our organizational mandates, experiences, and expertise that we have? Are we even eligible for this funding? We need to consider all these things. Often, while releasing the request for proposal, donor agencies, they also share with us the proposal templates. These are quite straightforward in a sense. They have some basic sections. We have to explain what's the background we are actually what's the background of the proposal we are actually trying to design. What's the context? What's the problem? We have to articulate and frame it properly. The second aspect is results. What we want to achieve from this particular project. What would be the outputs? What are the outcomes? And what would be the long-term impacts? Sometimes we try to show all these in a connected way, and we call it theory of change, which is quite an useful way to see the change we are aiming for. Of course, no output will be achieved unless we do activities and timely with sufficient resources. That's why work plan or activity plan has to be feasible with a specific timeline, and it has to be doable. We also need the deliverables and milestones, and those have to be practical and meaningful. Those will help us to track the progress of our project. And of course, no project will be implemented unless we have an efficient and qualified team in place. They should have expertise and much required experience to execute the project. That's why often we see that building a consortium is very, very useful. We also need to understand what are the risks we are trying to, we might be facing actually when we will be implementing the project. We have to be quite honest about it. But we shouldn't stop just by saying the risks. How we will be managing those risks, that is also quite important. And finally, the budget. Budget has to be reasonable, realistic, and of course detailed enough so that the judgment can be made between project proposals which are competing for the same funding. We need to consider a few other important things as well. We need to understand how the reviewing or evaluation team will be evaluating our proposal. What's the scoring system? Which sections are being highlighted in the scorecard? We also need to show that we have understood the terms of reference or request for proposal. We need to connect ourselves with the donor so that they can see we are sharing a common vision, common purpose, common drivers. Although not all proposals actually expect us to be innovative, but innovation is always beneficial. Innovation doesn't mean we have to invent something new all the time. It could be innovation like one old approach, but it has been tried in a totally different context. And the way we frame the solution, that could be innovative as well. The other important aspect is value addition. What extra we are actually giving. It doesn't mean that we will just increase the number of outputs. No, it can be qualitative as well. Ethical aspect is also quite important. We should be open and honest about our experiences and the ground context. There might be challenges, but we have to show that how we will be overcoming those foreseen or unforeseen challenges. Limitations could be there, but how we will be overcoming those limitations, we should be honest about that. Finally, value for money. Many donors, they actually have very clear guideline. What do they mean by value for money? Their position is very clear on that, and we have to appreciate that as well. Whether it is sustainability, whether it is effectiveness, efficiency, we have to address those in our proposal as well. Finally, we do appreciate that fundraising is very challenging, especially when the resources are limited, but the demand is so high. But involving diverse expertise, building on our collective experiences, highlighting innovations, showing integrity, making a strong link with the funders, and driving for feasible results. All these could lead to a winning project proposal. Thank you very much.